The distress signal. Emergency alert at Mars Deep Space Station. The crimson glow of Mars hung outside the observation deck as Commander Sarah Chen finished her routine scan of the outer system communication arrays. The Deep Space Station Olympus had been humanity's furthest listening post for 3 years now, positioned perfectly to monitor signals from the direction of the galactic core. Most days brought nothing but cosmic background radiation and the occasional automated beacon from mining operations in the asteroid belt. Today was different. Sarah's console erupted with alerts as an incoming transmission blazed across her screens with intensity that made her squint. The signal strength was off any scale she had seen before, originating from somewhere beyond the edge of mapped space. Her fingers flew across holographic displays as she tried to isolate the source. "Computer, analyze signal origin and strength," she commanded. The AI responded immediately. Signal originates from Kepler 442 system, approximately 47 light-years distant. Power output suggests artificial enhancement beyond current human technological capabilities. Signal appears to be a distress beacon. Sarah's breath caught. Kepler 442 was well beyond human exploration range. No Earth vessel had ever traveled that far. Whatever was sending this message possessed technology that dwarfed humanity's best efforts. She activated the priority communication link to Earth. Within minutes, her screen filled with the concerned face of Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's leading xenolinguist, and the man responsible for developing humanity's first universal translation protocols. "Sarah, I'm seeing the preliminary data from your station," Dr. Webb said, his voice tight with excitement and concern. "This is definitely artificial, definitely intelligent, and definitely not human. I need you to route the full signal to my laboratory immediately." Translation breakthrough. Dr. Webb's laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps had been designed for exactly this moment. Banks of quantum computers hummed as they processed the alien transmission, searching for mathematical patterns and linguistic structures that might provide a key to understanding. For 6 hours, Webb worked alongside his team of linguists, mathematicians, and computer specialists. The signal repeated every 47 minutes, suggesting urgency. As dawn broke over the mountains above, the first breakthrough came. "We have mathematical constants," announced Dr. Elena Vasquez, Webb's deputy. Pi, the golden ratio, prime number sequences. They're establishing universal mathematical concepts as a baseline for communication. Webb nodded grimly. Classic first contact protocol. They're assuming whoever receives this will understand basic mathematics. Keep working on the linguistic components. 3 hours later, the translation software achieved its first partial success. Words began appearing on the main display, fragmented and uncertain, but unmistakably meaningful. "Emergency. Assistance required. Zephyrian colonies under systematic extermination. Nexus Consortium. No mercy. Peaceful species. Cannot defend. Any civilization receiving. Please respond." The room fell silent as more fragments resolved into coherence. The full message painted a horrifying picture. A species calling themselves the Zephyrians were being systematically destroyed by something called the Nexus Consortium. The attack had been ongoing for months. Civilian populations were being targeted specifically. Multiple worlds were already lost. "My God," whispered Dr. Webb. "It's not just a distress call. It's a plea for help against genocide." Emergency Council Session. The emergency session of Earth Defense Command convened 12 hours after the initial signal detection. Admiral Victoria Stone stood at the center of the circular chamber deep beneath Geneva, her silver hair pulled back severely, her expression reflecting the gravity of the situation. Around her sat the representatives of Earth's major governments and military commands. "The signal is authentic," Admiral Stone began without preamble. "Our xenobiological analysis confirms it originates from a carbon-based species with physiology roughly compatible with human norms. The aggressors, this Nexus Consortium, appear to be a militaristic civilization with technology significantly advanced beyond our own. Secretary General Patricia Kumar leaned forward. Admiral, are you suggesting military intervention in a conflict between two alien species we know nothing about? I'm suggesting we answer a call for help, Stone replied firmly. The same call we would hope others would answer if Earth faced extinction. General Robert Hayes, representing the American Military Command, raised his hand. What do we know about our chances? Our fleet against an unknown enemy 47 light-years away. Admiral Stone activated the holographic display, showing fleet compositions and estimated travel times. We have advantages. Our ships are built for long-range deployment. Our crews are trained for extended operations. Most importantly, we evolved on a death world. Every human in our fleet has ancestors who survived Earth's environment for millions of years. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives worried about the risks of engagement with unknown alien technology. Others questioned whether humanity should involve itself in extraterrestrial conflicts. But as more translations came through describing the systematic destruction of civilian populations, the moral imperative became undeniable. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would answer the call. Fleet assembly and preparation. Captain Rex Morgan stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, humanity's newest and most advanced battlecruiser. Around him, the controlled chaos of fleet preparation filled the ship with purposeful energy. The Defiance would lead a task force of 12 vessels, representing the fastest and most maneuverable ships in Earth's fleet. Status report, Morgan commanded. Lieutenant Maya Patil consulted her tactical display. All ships report ready status, Captain. Medical supplies loaded, weapons systems at full capacity, crew briefings complete. Estimated travel time to Kepler 442 is 16 days using maximum slip space velocity. Morgan nodded. At 45, he was one of Earth's most experienced deep space commanders, having led exploration missions to the outer reaches of human space. But this mission to an unknown system to fight unknown enemies was unlike anything humanity had attempted. And the response to the Zephyrians. Transmitted 8 hours ago, sir, Paddle replied. Simple message. Help is coming. Stay strong. Throughout the fleet, similar preparations continued. The heavy cruiser Thunderstrike loaded with enough firepower to level a small moon. The medical vessel Sanctuary prepared to handle casualties from species they had never encountered. The stealth reconnaissance ships Shadow and Whisper checked their sensor arrays one final time. In the mess hall of the Defiance, crew members gathered for what might be their last meal in human space for months. Conversations mixed excitement with apprehension as they discussed the mission ahead. 47 light-years, mused engineer Carlos Mendez. Furthest any human has ever traveled. Not just that, replied communications officer Janet Kim. First time we're going somewhere to fight for people we've never met. Petty Officer David Park looked up from his meal. My grandfather fought in the Korean War. He used to say the measure of a person isn't how they treat their friends, but how they treat strangers who need help. The conversation quieted as the implications sank in. They were about to make first contact with two alien civilizations simultaneously, one as protectors and one as enemies. The journey begins. Admiral Stone's fleet-wide address echoed through every ship as they prepared for departure. Crew of the Zephyrian Response Fleet, today we answer a call that transcends species and star systems. We don't know what awaits us at Kepler 442, but we know why we're going. Someone asked for help, and humanity answered. She paused, looking directly into the camera that would broadcast her words to every crew member. Remember what makes us unique in this galaxy. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. We survived ice ages and plagues, predators, and disasters. We learned to work together, to adapt, to never give up. Now we carry those lessons to the stars. The departure sequence began with mathematical precision. One by one, the 12 ships of humanity's response fleet activated their slip space drives. Reality bent and twisted as portals opened in space, each one a gateway to the unknown. Captain Morgan stood on his bridge watching the tactical display as his fleet entered slip space. The swirling energy patterns surrounded them, carrying them faster than light toward a distant system where strangers faced extinction. Course laid in for Kepler 442, reported navigator Lisa Chang. Estimated arrival in 16 days. Morgan settled into his command chair, knowing that when they emerged from slip space, nothing would ever be the same. Humanity was about to announce its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, arriving as unexpected saviors in someone else's war. The rescue mission had begun. First contact combat. Emergence at Kepler 442. The human fleet tore through the fabric of space-time as 12 ships simultaneously emerged from slit space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Captain Rex Morgan felt the familiar disorientation of transition fade as his ship's sensors began painting a picture of the system ahead. What they found was worse than their worst projections. "Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures throughout the system," reported Lieutenant Maya Patel, her voice tight with concern. "Multiple large vessels, weapons fire, and debris fields around 3 different planets." The main screen flickered to life, showing the system in tactical overview. Kepler 442 had been home to a thriving civilization just months ago. Now it resembled a war zone. Massive ships, easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest vessels, moved between planets with methodical precision. Smaller craft swarmed around them like predatory insects. "Those are the Nexus Consortium forces." Dr. Webb's voice came through the communication link from Earth. "The translation algorithms have improved." The Zephyrians described them as a hive-mind militaristic society that views other civilizations as either useful or obstacles to be removed. Morgan studied the tactical display. "Numbers, Lieutenant. Approximately 40 large vessels, maybe 200 smaller craft. They appear to be conducting orbital bombardment of the 3rd planet while blockading the 2nd. Patel paused, checking her readings. "Captain, I'm also detecting what appear to be refugee ships fleeing the system. They're being pursued." First contact with the enemy. The lead Nexus Consortium vessel detected the human fleet within minutes of their arrival. Unlike the mathematical greeting protocols humanity had expected, their first contact came in the form of a weapon signature lock. "Captain, multiple hostile vessels changing course toward our position," reported Tactical Officer James Rodriguez. "They're not trying to communicate." Morgan's jaw tightened. So much for diplomacy. "All ships, battle stations. Patel, get me fleet-wide communication." As alerts sounded throughout the 12 human vessels, Morgan's voice carried to every crew member. "This is Captain Morgan. We came here to help people in need. The Nexus Consortium has made their intentions clear. All ships, engage on my mark." The Nexus formation approached with overwhelming confidence. Their ships were massive, heavily armored, and bristling with energy weapons that dwarfed anything in the human arsenal. They moved in rigid formation, expecting their technological superiority to end the engagement quickly. They had never fought Deathworlders before. "Deathworlder tactics. Captain, recommend we avoid direct engagement," advised Lieutenant Patel. "Their ships outgun us individually by a factor of 6 to 1. Morgan smiled grimly. "Then we don't fight individually. Remember, Lieutenant, humans didn't conquer Earth by being stronger than everything else. We did it by being smarter, more adaptable, and too stubborn to quit." The human fleet suddenly scattered in all directions, abandoning traditional formation combat in favor of something that looked like chaos to the Nexus commanders. The UES Defiance dove toward the system's 2nd planet while the Thunderstrike climbed toward the star. The stealth ship's shadow and whisper simply vanished from sensors entirely. "What are they doing?" transmitted the Nexus fleet commander, its translated words reaching human communication officers. "Their formation has collapsed." What the Nexus forces didn't understand was that humans had learned warfare from a planet where survival meant constant adaptation. Earth's oceans had taught them 3-dimensional thinking. Earth's predators had taught them pack tactics. Earth's weather had taught them to use environmental factors as weapons. The UES Defiance screamed past the second planet's atmosphere, using the gravity well to slingshot toward the Nexus rearguard. Simultaneously, the Thunderstrike began broadcasting false sensor signatures, making it appear as though dozens of ships were emerging from behind the star. Now, Morgan commanded. The stealth ships materialized inside the Nexus formation, their weapons targeting sensor arrays and communication systems. The Nexus ships, designed for overwhelming firepower in direct confrontation, found themselves blind and confused as their formation dissolved into chaos. The Zephyrian Rescue. While the human fleet engaged the Nexus forces in a deadly game of three-dimensional chess, Captain Morgan spotted their primary objective. A cluster of ships limping away from the third planet showed the energy signatures Dr. Webb had identified as Zephyrian technology. Medical Vessel Sanctuary, you have refugees at bearing 27 Mark IV, Morgan transmitted. Escort them to safety while we keep the Nexus busy. Dr. Susan Martinez aboard the Sanctuary didn't hesitate. Her ship, designed for medical evacuation and humanitarian aid, raced toward the fleeing Zephyrian vessels. As they approached, her communication officer achieved humanity's first peaceful contact. Unknown vessels, this is Dr. Martins of the Earth Vessel Sanctuary. We received your distress call. We're here to help. The response came back in accented but understandable English. Earth vessels, you came from the blue world 47 light-years distant. Why? Because you asked for help, Martins replied simply. The Zephyrian communication officer, a being named Vex Killar, felt something that translated roughly as astonishment. In their centuries of space travel, the Zephyrians had never encountered a species that would cross interstellar distances to help complete strangers. Battle tactics and human ingenuity. Back in the main engagement, the human fleet continued their unconventional assault. The Nexus forces, accustomed to species that fought using predictable military doctrines, found themselves completely outmaneuvered by tactics that seemed to follow no logical pattern. Captain Morgan's ship performed a maneuver called the Death Spiral, diving directly toward a Nexus battleship while spinning along 3 axes. The movement was so erratic that the Nexus targeting systems couldn't achieve a lock. At the last second, the Defiance fired every weapon it had and used the battleship's own gravity field to whip around and escape. These humans fight like their ships are alive, transmitted one confused Nexus commander. They used physics as a weapon. Lieutenant Patel coordinated the fleet's movements from her tactical station, her training on Earth's most dangerous flight simulators finally paying off. Shadow, Whisper, can you target their command vessel's communication array? Already on it, came the reply from the stealth ships. These lizards rely too much on their formation coordination. Take that away, and they're just big targets. Turning the tide. The battle raged for 3 hours, but gradually the human advantages began to tell. The Nexus forces, built for overwhelming static firepower, couldn't adapt to the fluid, unpredictable nature of human tactics. Their ships began taking damage from angles they hadn't anticipated. Their formations crumbled under attacks that came from directions their doctrines said were impossible. More importantly, the human rescue operation was succeeding. The Sanctuary and its escorts had successfully evacuated 17 Zephyrian refugee ships, carrying nearly 50,000 survivors away from the combat zone. Captain, reported Communications Officer Kim, I'm receiving a transmission from the Nexus Fleet Commander. They're requesting communication. Put them through, Morgan ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was mechanically translated, but carried clear undertones of confusion and frustration. Human vessels, identify your territorial claims in this system. State your resource requirements for withdrawal. Morgan exchanged glances with his bridge crew. The Nexus literally couldn't comprehend that someone would fight them without seeking territorial or resource gain. Nexus forces, this is Captain Morgan of the Earth Defense Fleet. We have no territorial claims here. We came because people were dying and asked for help. Withdraw your forces from Zephyrian space immediately. The silence lasted nearly a full minute. When the Nexus commander responded, the mechanical translation couldn't hide the bewilderment. You traveled 47 light years to defend a species you had never encountered, for no material gain. That's right, Morgan replied firmly. It's what humans do. First contact diplomacy. As the immediate threat receded, Captain Morgan found himself in humanity's first three-way diplomatic contact. The Zephyrian representative, Vex Killar, joined the communication channel from aboard one of the rescued vessels. Humans of Earth, Vex Killar said, their voice carrying harmonics that the translation software rendered as deep gratitude. We broadcast our distress without hope. Our species had accepted extinction as inevitable. Your arrival has changed everything. The Nexus commander interjected, their mechanical tone carrying what might have been respect. Human captain, your species demonstrates combat effectiveness beyond your technological level. The Nexus Consortium acknowledges this engagement as a tactical learning experience. Morgan leaned back in his command chair, suddenly aware that this conversation would be studied by historians for centuries. Then learn this: humanity will not tolerate the extinction of peaceful species. Any further attacks on the Zephyrians will result in our return, and next time we'll bring more ships. The Nexus commander considered this. The consortium will evaluate the cost-benefit ratio of continued operations in this system. Your species shows potential for useful alliance. We don't ally with genocidal empires, Morgan replied coldly. But we're willing to discuss peace if you're willing to stop the killing. Vex Killar spoke up again. Captain Morgan, on behalf of the surviving Zephyrian colonies, I formally request that Earth establish diplomatic relations with our people. We have much to offer in trade and knowledge sharing. As the immediate crisis passed, Morgan realized they had achieved something unprecedented. Humanity had successfully intervened in an interstellar conflict, saved an alien species from extinction, and established their reputation as protectors rather than conquerors. Dr. Webb, Morgan said over the communication link to Earth, I think you're going to need a bigger linguistics department. It looks like humanity just became a major player in galactic politics. The response fleet had successfully answered the call. The Zephyrians were safe, the Nexus had been deterred, and humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible, arriving as unexpected saviors in someone else's darkest hour. The age of human interstellar diplomacy had begun.